Are you got to start taking meetings like first thing right away on Monday, or do you need kind of that first, I don't know, couple hours of Monday to make sure that everything is set for the week and it kind of gets you into the rhythm for the week? Which kind of the side of the spectrum do you fit on?
It's almost like when you go to the gym and just going, and even if you have a crappy workout or you're just off your game, at least you went because it's still something and it's going to spark something later. And so I look at it like if it is scheduled and you're not vibing, that it's okay because you always have another opportunity and you may learn something that you wanted to change for the next round.
If you've got a call scheduled on your calendar with a high value prospect or a client meeting or something like that on your calendar, how often are you going to allow that to be canceled or moved? Most business owners, maybe you can say if this is wrong in your own world, but most business owners that I've talked to, like the answer is never. Like they're not going to push that off. They're always going to take that call.
I'm learning, okay, how can I find time, especially the chill meetings, and do it in places where I'm already at and that are a little bit more chill vibes. Maybe go for a coffee walk with somebody. Have your meeting that way. So I'm getting really creative with maximizing, okay, I'm already going to be here. Might as well invite friends, take an hour for this, have a meeting for that.
It is Monday, which means for many of us business owners, we're looking at our task list going, okay, there's a lot of things on the schedule for this week. Me personally, I'm looking at my schedule for tomorrow and realizing I don't really have much white space. That can be a little stressful. So, okay, when you're looking at your week this week, all the things that have to do, how's your week stacking up? Are you feeling overwhelmed at all?
Oh yeah, it's getting there because it's a lot of meetings and it's a lot of calls with new folks for a big event that we're doing at the end of the month, and all of a sudden we're ramping up and it's like I have a lot of action items on my list this week. Yes.
So, I mean, this is not the first time that you've been in this spot before, right? Where there's a lot of things coming up and you're trying to manage all these things together. So I'm curious, how do you look at kind of managing your calendar? How do you manage your schedule overall? When you've got just a list of things that have to get done, how do you manage the overwhelm? Like the actual, I don't know, emotional side that traditionally comes with that feeling. How do you manage it?
Well, this is a great question because there's two kind of things, that two different types of things that I do. One is I try to automate as much as possible. So I have, like, if someone wants to get on a meeting with me, I send them right to my calendar link and they can book, and then it goes directly onto my phone and to my email and everywhere, and I can see it in there.
Do
And
you
so I
do
can
you have
prepare.
to do you block off like specific times so that because I know that can be, this is a really key point. I wanted to like pause you there because I think this, I don't want to like miss this for the audience. Um, when setting up your calendar link, do you have that set where I know in my calendar, say Tuesdays and Thursdays from, I don't know, call it 10 o'clock in the morning to 3 o'clock in the afternoon. That's going to be the only time that I allow for those types of meetings to get set. Do you do anything like that? Or is it just, as long as they're pre-planned, it works well for you?
I do have certain hours set with other, because I have other obligations throughout my week. And then I've noticed I started getting overwhelmed because I had so many meetings every week. So now I actually have slimmed down my calendar even more to be every other week you can book me. Because if there's like a heavy week, that like this week, for example, I have an event tomorrow, multiple things going on. I don't want as many meetings this week. Or I like load up the back half of my week, my Wednesday, Thursday, Fridays, where I don't have as much of the deep work that needs to be done. So yeah, I do strategize in my calendar, and it's I can adjust it whenever I need to.
Are you got to start taking meetings like first thing right away on Monday? Or do you need kind of that first, I don't know, couple hours of Monday to make sure that everything is set for the week and it kind of gets you into the rhythm for the week? Which kind of the side of the spectrum do you fit on?
Well, since a lot of my work happens on the weekends, a lot of my networking, I don't start my Mondays till 11 a.m. I allow that space for even sleeping in if I want a good workout. I don't like to do meetings on Monday mornings unless they really need to happen. But however, I mean, yeah, I would say Mondays are, I try to just load up the back half of my Monday and make it a lighter day since usually Friday, Saturday, Sunday, I'm doing a lot of networking for my work.
I think that's really smart. I talked to a few folks in the past where like they're maybe they're not in the position that you are where they've got a lot of things happening on the weekend, but rather than like starting Monday with everything that they need to catch up on, they'll take like, I don't know, 2 hours in the evening on Sunday just to kind of look over, here's what I've got coming up for the week. Here's going to be my task list and kind of prepare and all of that kind of thing, which I think really does help when you jump into the week. I know I kind of do a version of this. We teach a lot of our team to do the daily list and the weekly list. And the weekly list is supposed to be done before you leave on Friday, before you like officially cut off me, like I'm done with work related stuff. You put together like your list of here's all the things that I need to tackle or work on next week. And then I'll build my daily plan for Monday and Tuesday, et cetera, et cetera. So I think some of those things can be really helpful. I, like you, still would prefer not to start my Mondays out with a whole bunch of meetings. I'm a big, I start my days with numbers, but start the week with like management reports and things like that. So it's a time to kind of reflect and look at the previous week before. So I tend to be more in that bucket as well. I think traditionally my first meetings tend to happen usually about 11, sometimes maybe a little bit earlier than that on a Monday, just depends on the week. But I try not to have it be like 8 o'clock in the morning, first meeting, let's go on Monday. I like to kind of ease into it. It tends to be my personal way to jump into things.
Yeah, definitely the same here. I do take time on Sundays to do some things, usually some type of admin or maybe it's content creation, something where I can be prepped for the week ahead.
That's actually kind of an interesting thing. Are you a big believer in kind of like going with the flow on things? So if you feel that you're in more of a creative mode, do you shift your schedule to go do like content related things or writing or different things that need kind of that creative brain space? Or have you found that there's times in either your week or your day that you're just naturally the most creative and try and optimize for those times when you have to do those types of tasks? What's worked for you?
That's been an ongoing journey as I'm getting more into even more creative work now. So that's unfolding. I definitely do try to maximize when I do get a creative spark to be able to stay in that flow. But even just knowing what my week looks like in general gives me space to try and activate creativity. There's times when it comes on really quickly, or there's times where I have to kind of like, I can do some things to help it get started. Like maybe it's have a really good conversation with someone, even ChatGPT, just start getting those juices flowing. And then other times, like, for example, Saturday evening, I was listening to music, getting ready to go to an event for the evening, and I got a spark of lyrics that just hit me, and I wrote a song in 5 minutes. And so I try to at least get them down. Like if I have enough time to text myself those lyrics, or if I have an idea for content, to send it to myself or send it to someone I'm going to work on it with. I do try to like save space for that when I can, but yeah, I want to try and get more of a structure even for the creative side, because there are things you can do to kind of like evoke those things. Maybe it's a song, maybe it's something you're doing, go for a walk, clear your head of meetings. So yeah, it's a little bit of both right now, but I'll keep you updated on how it unfolds.
It's always been one of those ones that's been interesting because I'm a big believer in like pre-planning and blocking like time and things like that. So I know that, what days I'm traditionally going to do content related stuff, or I'm going to do report based stuff, or I'm going to do some project based stuff, or coaching or sales or lead gen or whatever. But I do tend to find that sometimes there's just moments when I feel like I'm definitely in the mode to go do one of those tasks, and it may not be the thing that's planned. And I do try my best when possible that if I can move things around to accommodate that, because I tend to find like if I do get a creative spark, and I usually like to think I'm not a super creative person. Maybe I'm selling myself short, but I tend to find that if I'm really in a creative mode, like if that just like pops up, I'm learning that I probably need to take advantage of that when that moment comes up, because I find it's really hard for me, especially if I'm doing other tasks and it's like, oh, well, I got the rest of the afternoon to do creative stuff. It's hard for me to get into that mode. So I try to, obviously I can't move client meetings and different things like that. But if it's hey, I was going to do project stuff here and creative stuff here, and I just feel the creative stuff during the project type mode, and then maybe I'll just flip it and I'll do I'll do them vice versa, right? So that's what I've kind of been noticing. But it is kind of a push pull, because I really do like to plan things out accordingly and like time block and do different things like that. And sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't.
I agree with you there. I've noticed something within that realm of my world lately is if I I had a scheduled time to record content at a studio last week, and when I was there, it felt I wasn't like in the flow. I started to kind of get there, but I still feel like the content wasn't as authentic as I want it to be. So sometimes it doesn't work in the like when it's scheduled. However, due to that, it actually inspired me to rework it and maybe do it again. Even if I don't get back in that studio, I can still use that to come up with wording and verbiage now that I got that kind of grungy one out of the way, even if it didn't feel good. It's almost like when you go to the gym and just going, and even if you have a crappy workout or you're just off your game, at least you went, because it's still something and it's going to spark something later. And so I look at it like if it is scheduled and you're not vibing, that it's okay, because you always have another opportunity and you may learn something that you wanted to change for the next round.
That's a really good point. Most of the time something will come out of it. Maybe you don't get quite as much out some days as compared to other days, but usually something decent will come out of a time of creation. So I initially started this whole conversation by, are you feeling overwhelmed? How's the week look? So let's go back to that, because I kind of derailed us a little bit with this particular rabbit hole I went down. But how else do you look at keeping away from being too overwhelmed? I think maybe a little bit of overwhelm from time to time is healthy. I think it pushes us into a little bit of growth mode. But how else do you kind of look at that? How when you see a week that comes up and you're like, oh, there's a lot of things on here, I don't quite know how I'm gonna manage all of it. What else do you kind of do to keep yourself sane throughout the week?
Oh, this is such a great one. And one thing I'm always working on is I try to keep routine where I can. I like to get up and either get in a workout or go for a walk and talk to my mom and decompress a lot of those thoughts, and movement, and try to do things in my day, even if it's very stressful and the first thing I want to do is get in emails. And I do admit I do check my inbox first thing. I have my coffee, but then I do take time to step away from the computer and go for that long, like a nice a half hour to an hour long walk where I'm either taking in music, a podcast, have a conversation with my mom. So I think as you go, find what works for you that's gonna spark you to get out of the overwhelm, because a lot of overwhelm is just in our minds more than even the task we have to do. I remind myself, okay, I wouldn't be doing these things if I wasn't capable. Or how can I find someone to help me through, whether that be a conversation or delegation on certain tasks to lighten the load. And sometimes it is simply moving the meetings that can be moved, and just contact the person and say, hey, do you mind? It's a crazy week. Would you be cool with us like touching base next week? I want to be very present for our call. Something like that. And so you can find ways to wiggle room within the overwhelm. And I always remember, think of it like Tetris. Like, you can move things like a Tetris that moves. You can move things and stack them differently in different areas. Some things are locked in. That's okay, and that's great. But you can adjust. If you need 3 hours to just have some decompression time before presenting at an event in the evening, take it. Sleep, watch a movie, eat a meal, do something that you feel relaxed to help you prep for that. And there's ways, I think about the little things.
I think you're getting at something that I would love for us to just kind of chat a little bit about. So I'm going to ask you a question. If you didn't do the morning workouts, if you didn't do the, go for a walk and talk to your mom and do the decompressing type things, how would you feel about your week if those never happened?
I wouldn't feel very good. I know if I go too many days, like say I am missing the gym for a few days or haven't talked to my mom as much or those routines, it does start to throw me off. So I find a way to get back to it. Because I try to give myself grace too in those moments, or do something that, even if I don't have an hour to go for a walk, maybe it's even 10 minutes of sunshine, just something. But yeah, it affects me. My productivity, I feel, does suffer when I don't have those things that fill my cup.
I wanted to bring this up because I've actually spoken with some of my business owner buddies in the last couple of weeks, and there's been a lot of this feeling like they always have to be on. Like, I got to push. I got to get to this next level within the business, because when I get to that next level, it's going to feel better, and then it'll be easier, and I'll be able to do all these types of things. But right now, I just have to keep going and keep going and keep going. And, whether they've been in business for, their first year, for the first 3 to 4 years, it's those moments where they look back and go, like, it'd just be easier to go work for somebody else. I'd be working 40 hours and I'd have my weekends and everything else would be fine. But some, crazy thing inside me said that I'm going to go start a business or buy a business, and now I'm going to work 80 to 100 hours for a boss that's not as good. Right. And, all of a sudden I'm not spending as much time with my family, and I can feel that, there's a little bit of resentment there. I can feel that there's some, something inside me that I don't really like. I really do want to be spending more time, or I'm not doing those hobbies that I used to, or I'm not taking care of myself because I'm not going to the gym or going for a walk or doing different things like that. It can be so easy to fall into that trap. I know I've fallen there multiple times throughout kind of my career and business journey. But sometimes we just have to take a step back and, like, at what point do we make the agreement with ourselves the same way we would with a customer or a client? If you've got a call scheduled on your calendar with a high value prospect, or a client meeting or something like that on your calendar, how often are you going to allow that to be canceled or moved? Most business owners, maybe you can say if this is wrong in your own world, but most business owners that I've talked to, like, the answer is never. Like, they're not going to push that off. They're always going to take that call. They're always going to make sure that, like, if they're in that client meeting, like, their notifications are turned off, everything else is moved away. They're focused on that because that's their money maker, right? But you ask them to put the same type of thing on their own calendar, whether it's going for a walk, or it's just, I'm taking an hour for lunch, or being in the gym, or whatever it is, right? You can choose whatever that thing is for you, but it's time for you. Our time block. I don't know the number of times that I've literally watched this, not like heard stories, like watched people do this. Like, it's my time, not doing anything else. Oh, but the phone rang. Oh, that's I probably should take it. And all of a sudden their time's cut off. And they allow that to get interrupted. They allow that to be canceled because it's not important to them, because they got to go after the things that make them money. But hello, like, wake up. You're the thing that makes the money. Like, you are the first thing that if you're not okay, nothing else can be. So you have to start with that if you don't take that time. So I know this is a very long-winded way to express this, but I think it's really important that when we're looking at blocking our time in the calendar, blocking the schedule for the week, making sure that we don't get overwhelmed, like, where are your time blocks for you? And making sure that those are put in there as non-negotiables. Now, they can move day to day. They can be shorter some days, longer other days. But putting it in there and sticking to it, just like anything else, I think is really, really important. I'll give you a quick example that's very, like, top of mind for me at the moment. So exercise and working out and all that kind of stuff is really important to me. I've been doing it for so long that I can't. It feels really strange not to do something for a day, even if it's just going for a walk. Like, it doesn't have to be like a massive workout, but it's like my time. I need to go get this thing done. Sometimes it's early morning, sometimes it's afternoon. It just depends on the day. And this goes on the weekend too. And I had, sorry, I'm going to throw my mom under the bus here for a second. But it's Saturday, something like that, Sunday, whatever it was. I can't remember which of the 2 days it was, but it was my workout time. And I was expecting kind of some news on some things within the family. So I saw my mom was calling during that time. So I picked up the phone and I talked to her. And, shame on me. I did not say, hey, I can't actually talk right now, and then kind of move on. I allowed that conversation to go, and I lost 20 minutes. And I was just so frustrated afterwards because this was supposed to be the time that I was decompressing and going through my time. And I allowed for this interruption to take place. So it was a stark reminder that, the next weekend it was, okay, well, if I get a call, nothing is too urgent that it can't wait 10 minutes. Mm-hmm. And I can silence my notifications to get through this one little chunk of time that I have set aside for me, because I will be in a better space to handle whatever the next thing is, to tackle the next things I have on my list for the rest of the week, all of that kind of thing. So top of mind reminder for me, but hopefully that resonates for somebody else out there. But I just can't stress enough take a moment and make sure that that's in there. Like if we're going to tackle overwhelm, this is probably the biggest key unlock, is just schedule time for you when you're building out the calendar.
100%. I absolutely agree. And I think another thing that kind of adds a layer to this is something I've been doing is, so I throw a lot of events, and I have certain events on certain days that are weekly. And I happen to have a very chill music event every Sunday afternoon at a hotel here in town. I invite people to that, and I do meetings where I'm already going to be. So if you can maximize your time, like things like that, where I'm like, okay, I have these hours. I'm at an event anyway. I'm minimally needed. It's not a very intensive event. I can also invite people to come to the event, and then I can sit down with them and have a strategy session sitting at the pool. It's lovely. And so I'm learning, okay, how can I find time, especially the chill meetings, and do it in places where I'm already at and that are a little bit more chill vibes. Maybe go for a coffee walk with somebody. Mm-hmm. Have your meeting that way. So I'm getting really creative with maximizing, okay, I'm already going to be here. Might as well invite friends. Take an hour for this. Have a meeting for that. I'm learning, okay, how can I find time, especially the chill meetings, and do it in places where I'm already at and that are a little bit more chill vibes. Maybe go for a coffee walk with somebody. Mm-hmm. Have your meeting that way. So I'm getting really creative with maximizing, okay, I'm already going to be here. Might as well invite friends. Take an hour for this. Have a meeting for that. In an environment it's less like, okay, we got to sit down and strategize. It's more like, let's brainstorm. Let's just catch up. A lot of the business of people too, you're just having to stay on the pulse of people and their lives and their, whether they be clients or partners or however. So I've been really tapping into those opportunities where I can get my walk in with a friend.
Mm-hmm. It's such another like big unlock is either taking meetings in settings. I was trying to think of a different word for that, but looking at what are different ways that we can take a meeting, especially if they're like phone call meetings. So this has probably been the biggest thing that I've disliked about having so many Zoom meetings is it's harder to have like a walk and talk meeting because you have to be sitting down in front of a screen. Whereas if we just went back to having a conference call or a phone call, just a regular phone call, like you can put your earbuds in, you can be going for a walk or you could be sitting somewhere else. Take that as you will, but I think there are moments when you can do some of your work that maybe I'm just going to do my work from my phone for a bit because there's certain things that I can do from there, and I'm going to go for a walk or I'm going to go sit out in the park or by the pool or wherever. I think that's a really simple unlock to just kind of reduce a little bit of that overwhelm, being in a different environment. Yeah, doing walking meetings with people. Scooter meetings or whatever it is, right? You just go out and you do something kind of fun. You're still having the meeting. It's just not sitting in a conference room and with, no windows and having to do it that way. So, this has been kind of a cool topic. And I'm sure that there's a lot of our listeners out there that have felt this moment a few times throughout their career and, or maybe in the last few days. And hopefully there's something that kind of sparks in here. So, Kay, I'm going to give you the final word in this conversation today. What's What's like one piece, if there's something that we should leave the audience with today, how would you wrap this up and leave the audience with something valuable today?
Oh, I'm so glad you asked because I do have something that actually came to mind. It is the more that we put out and give, the more energy we put out, the more we have to take that time to fill our cup. And whatever that looks like for you, for me, it's just taking a lot of rest. I do disco naps a lot. I do day naps and little naps, little 15-minute jolts, or give myself the space I need, the time I need, because I get on stage and I'm presenting to a room of 150 people. Whatever that looks like for you, maybe you're on a conference call with 150 people. Maybe you have that one-on-one with that client that you know is a great fit for you and you need to, close that deal. The more we put out of our energy into the world, the more we have to replenish. And whatever that looks like for you, take the time to replenish and refuel.
I love that. Those are amazing parting words. All right, that wraps up this conversation. And as always, let us know in the comments below. What are some things you want to hear about? What are some things that are holding you back in your business? It can be on any of the topics: marketing, sales, operations, just our own mindset as business owners. But let us know. We want to continue to create this content, these conversations that are valuable to you. So please put it in the comments. Let us know what your bottlenecks are, your hurdles are. We won't call them challenges or things that are holding you back, but what are some things you want to grow through? Let us know and we'll continue to bring those to you every single week. With that, we'll see you in the next conversation.